Right, news. Let's do the news, because there has been many news. Normally, in the winter, things calm down, and there's nothing to talk about. But then, a few weeks ago, the FIA said, let me cook.
Yeah, boy.
A public relations shitstorm, with every single Formula One team releasing the identical statement, which is unprecedented. That is a real word.
Unprecedented.
Accusations of insider corruption, accusations of misogyny, an official FIA investigation which lasted about 5 minutes before it was dropped, and the threat of legal action against the FIA themselves.
Fun!
And it all started with this, Business F1 magazine. Earlier this month, in their December issue, they published an article about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Sorry, I meant Toto Wolff and Susie Wolff. It's easy to get them mixed up because look at how similar these pictures are. Blue jacket, beige top, beige top. The symmetry is incredible. But it was the Wolffs who had their good name dragged through the mud. This is the official website for Business F1 magazine, and what's cool about the website is when you flip the pages, it makes a little flip noise.
Technology.
And if we flip to page number 10, this is the article that set off the entire shitstorm. But before we get to this specific article, let me give you some background on the sort of journalism conducted by Business F1 magazine. For example, in their February edition from 2021, they wrote a piece about Nikita Mazepin. Remember the Mazepig? Here's what they had to say about the Mazepig. Headline, why Formula One needs its bad boys. The arrival of Mazepin is full of promise for the return of the bad boys and the return of glamour. A 21-year-old called Nikita Mazepin. He is a good-looking young man. He looks like a fucking autistic egg.
Breakfast!
A good-looking young man who also likes girls. In many ways, he is the man Formula One has been waiting for. That is, if Formula One allows him to be himself.
You are a fucking retard.
Nowadays, the sport is inhabited by virtue signalers, people anxious to be seen to do the right thing, even if the right thing is the wrong thing.
Journalism.
These people may or may not allow Mazepin to flourish, or they may strangle him at birth, as they tried to do last year when he was caught out fooling around with a couple of girls in his car. Right, let me provide some context. It wasn't a couple of girls in his car, it was one drunk girl on the back seat of his friend's Porsche, and initially, it looked like Nikita Mazepin sexually assaulted the girl. Sorry, I'm just realising how inappropriate this hat is now, talking about sexual harassment. I'm gonna plow through. It looked like Nikita Mazepin sexually assaulted the girl when he grabbed her tits, filmed it, and then put it on his Instagram story. Bad move, Mazepig. Then the media exploded and started using the word abhorrent, which apparently is a real word.
Breakfast!
And that he should be kicked out of Formula One. But then the uncensored version of the video re-emerged, and it became clear that the censored version of the video makes it look 10 times worse. Then the woman in the video came out and defended the Mazepig and said it was her who uploaded the video. She said, "Hey guys, I just wanted to let you know Nikita and I have been good friends for a long time and nothing from that video was serious at all. We trust each other so much and this was a silly way of joking between us. I posted the video to his story as an internal joke." Good one. "I am truly sorry. I can give you my word he is a really good person. Listen." Knowing what we know about Mazepig's daddy, it is possible that when the woman made this statement, she was chained to a radiator in an underground bunker with a rifle in her mouth. But the point is, F1 Business F1 magazine took this story and tried to make it seem like Mazepin was some cool playboy rock star. He's not a rock star, he's a fucking egg. And then the article just gets fucking weird. because the author starts bragging about his own shenanigans. This is a picture of the next page I found on Reddit because I wasn't about to pay $260 for the full version. Piss off. But on the next page, they go on to say, Gunter does not live in the real world where real 21-year-old guys have fun with girls. I remember once, when I was 17, I was driving my dad's Land Rover with my first proper girlfriend, Jenny. Jenny started doing things to me that were highly inappropriate, which involved her appearing and disappearing from view. Right, so Jenny gave him a blowy in his dad's Land Rover.
Ooh. You're hard.
Are you starting to understand what this magazine is about? They are the TMZ of Formula One. And sometimes they publish outright bollocks. For example, in another piece from a 2021 edition, they claim that at least 3 of the drivers are homosexual, and they went on to mention Valtteri Bottas having an affair on his wife. Technically, that is true, just not in the way that they described it. Valtteri Bottas was married to a woman called Emilia Picard or something.
Emilia Pikkarainen.
Who apparently holds the world record in the 50 metres butterfly, whatever the fuck that is. Then it came out that Bottas was pumping an Australian cyclist called Tiffany Cromwell.
Breakfast at Tiffany.
And then Bottas and Amelia announced they were breaking up. Again, TMZ gossip bollocks. In another issue, they published an article which looked like it was written by Matt Bishop, who at the time was a communications director for Aston Martin. However, Mr. Bishop later clarified on Twitter, to be clear, I didn't write that piece, nor did I know it was being published. The Business F1 staff simply transcribed some of what I said in the Aston Martin video from the Monaco Grand Prix and ran it as a column apparently by Matt Bishop. No class and no manners. Questionable practices. Another article I found, which isn't necessarily relevant to how shit they are, but I just thought was funny, is from the October issue of 2021. They published an article about Michael Massey.
The Massive!
This was written 2 months before Abu Dhabi 2021. Are you ready? Headline, The Boy Doing the Man's Job. It's been obvious for some time that Michael Massey, the FIA technical delegate, isn't up to the job of being in charge of a Grand Prix weekend. When there is a decision to be made, he inevitably makes the wrong one. Luckily, there are not many major decisions that have needed to be made since he took over.
Foreshadowing.
But the most controversial article Business F1 has ever published, up until about 2 weeks ago, was in the January edition of this year, where they wrote a piece about the failure of the W Series. It's pretty rough and kinda noncy. For people who aren't aware, W Series was a clam-only division which lasted 2.5 years before they ran out of money in the 3rd year and had to cancel the rest of the season. They ended up £23 million in debt and didn't pay the drivers the prize money they were owed. One of the drivers, by the name of Betske Visser, she said in an interview she was owed $250,000 of prize money that they never paid, and that the series champion Jamie Chadwick missed out on $500,000.
That's a lot of guacamole!
So the W Series went down in flames. Now, was that because of mismanagement or a lack of interest from the fans?
No!
According to Business F1 magazine, it was because of tits. This is the article they wrote about the failure of the W Series, and if you look closely, you can see Danica Patrick. Can I just be very misogynistic for a second, please? Danica Patrick, more like Danica Patrick! I'm not proud of that, and I do apologise, but I'm not sorry. Anyway, let's read through the article, shall we? Many people believe that the biggest asset of the W Series was the sex appeal of the 18 drivers. And then just above the grid photo, they've written, the drivers were always photographed covered up and buttoned up, and there was no attempt to ever use sex to promote the series, because that was the exact opposite of what they were trying to achieve. The whole point of the W Series was to highlight women for their skill and their ability. Ignore that. Not parade them around like pieces of meat. Secondly, all of these women are mid as hell. And thirdly, most of them were very young, including one of which who was 16 years old at the time this article was written.
16!
Jeffrey Epstein intensifies.
Could you please give us your name?
Jeffrey Epstein.
So they covered the Mazepin story by bragging about getting a blowjob. They have a weird obsession with drivers' personal lives, questionable practices, and they thought the best way of marketing the W Series was by sending all the women to a temple on a private island off the coast of Puerto Rico. But things get even worse when you read about the man who owns the magazine. Tom Rubathon, founder of Business F1. And according to his Wikipedia page, he has been sued for libel. Libel is a fancy word for talking shite. He has been sued for talking shite more times than any other British journalist, including lawsuits from Alan Sugar, Max Mosley, and Bernie Ecclestone. And then if you scroll down to personal, it says he was one of the first people in the UK to clone a dog. What? A grieving author went behind his wife's back to clone his beloved dog for a staggering $135,000. I can barely keep up with this fucking story. Mr. Rubathon tracked down a Korean laboratory dedicated to cloning canines. The 63-year-old refrigerated Daisy and took the required skin samples to the laboratory. He put his dog in the fridge. He put his dead dog in the fridge and then sent it to a Korean laboratory. What the f***? Right, before we get too far off the rails, let's get back to the main piece. This is the December issue of Business F1 magazine, in which they published a double-page spread about Jeffrey and Ghislaine. And first of all, considering this is a major publication, which is not free, this is some of the worst Photoshop I have ever seen. It looks like they did it in Microsoft Paint. And for comparison, I made this picture of the wolves in Microsoft Paint, and you can barely tell that it's not real. I promise never to show you that picture again. Right, let's read the article, shall we? And I'm gonna have to read quite a lot of this so that we get the full story, but I know that because of TikTok, everybody has the attention span of a goldfish. So while I'm reading through this, I will put a video on screen of me trying to catch a duck so that your ADHD has something else to look at. Okay. Here we go. Some as yet unnamed team principals have separately made unofficial representations to the FIA concerning the family conflict they believe exists between Wolff as a team principal and his wife Susie as an employee of Formula One Group. The team principals believe that Wolff now has access to confidential information that they do not via his wife, which is not being shared with them and Wolff is using to his own benefit. Off-the-record representations have apparently been made privately to President bin Sulayem, who has had an informal discussion with at least one team principal. It appears to have been sparked by an unusual discussion at the last meeting where Toto Wolff clearly had advanced information about a topic that came up, which surprised a number of the team principals. A few of them worked out it could have only come from a source at Formula One Group. According to a person there, Toto immediately realised he had overspoke, and his uncomfortable body language immediately aroused the suspicions of some of the others. Right, so a couple of things. First of all, I did catch the duck. Secondly, those are some pretty serious accusations. Because let's not forget McLaren was fined $100 million and disqualified from the World Championship for having photocopies of Ferrari documents. This is way worse. This is insider corruption between a Formula One team principal and Formula One themselves.
Throw them in jail!
But let's calm down. And everybody take a deep breath, because remember, this magazine has a reputation for printing unfounded shite, and the owner of the magazine is a lunatic who put his dead dog in a fridge. So no reasonable person would take this article serious. The FIA opens compliance investigation into potential Wolff conflict of interest. A report in Business F1 magazine suggested that a comment Wolff made the FIA took the article seriously and launched a full-scale public investigation. Why would they do this? Excellent question. According to Susie Wolff herself, she believes it was rooted in misogynistic behaviour. That's what she said in a statement posted on her Twitter, and in the comment section, all of her fans were like, "Yes, Queen, call them out. You drop this, Queen," crown emoji. Susie Wolff, the one and only Queen, we stand with you, Queen, and so do I, because fuck misogyny. Ignore that. But then other people were suspicious of her playing the misogyny card. Playing the victim card by claiming misogyny isn't the best look. Seems incredibly defensive. Surely, if it's all fine and dandy, you'd be more welcoming to an investigation. Instead, you get defensive and play the misogyny card. Innocent people don't usually remind you of their gender, so the courtroom of Twitter was divided on the issue. But all of the Formula One teams came together for once and released the same statement saying that they didn't say anything to the FIA about a potential conflict of interest between the Wolffs, basically confirming that this article was made up fake trash. And that makes things very awkward for the FIA, because even though they dropped the investigation immediately, the damage had already been done. Mercedes and the Wolffs were furious. They had their reputation tarnished because of a fake article. And the fact that the FIA launched a full-scale public investigation because of a fake article is mental. Or is it? Because in the middle of this whole shitstorm, Christian Horner went on Sky News, and when he was asked about the situation, listen to what he says.
Can you go on the record? Was it you? Did you complain about this?
Look, we have a big rivalry on track, but we haven't raised any official complaint either about Susie or Toto or Mercedes. We've not raised any official complaint or made any requests.
You sneaky little bastard. You sneaky little sneak. I think Christian Horner is the rat. He said, we haven't raised any official complaint. Emphasis on the word official. But what did it say in the article? Unofficial representations. Off-the-record representations. A person with a history of conflict with Wolff outlined to Business F1. Maybe Business F1 magazine was telling the truth all along. Maybe 3 of the drivers are homosexual. Maybe Nikita Mazepin is a good-looking young man. Maybe Toto and Susie Wolff are colluding with Formula One to create a Jeffrey Epstein-style global paedophile network. Throw them in jail!
Aneurysm.